So this is David that has the prophecy of a Messiah that is, or someone that is dying, right? The story of David in Psalms 22, when he talks about the story of someone that is dying. And the person that is dying in this particular text is not really known. It's not really known. And by this, the rabbis also come in, like Rashi, and Rashi makes certain statements of who he thinks this particular person is. Now also note that a lot of uneducated Jews would jump to what is known as Rashi's commentary. In Rashi's commentary, this is not the case at all. This is not the case at all. Now, I'm going to use Rashi's commentary just to work through the belief system of certain people that say that Psalms 22 is not about the Messiah. But if you dig deeper, if you're going to look a little bit deeper, then we have to understand one thing. Understand the text. Let's go to Psalms chapter 22. Praise God. Amen. I feel that teaching anointing coming over me. Psalms 22. And Psalms 22, it is titled, Why Have You Forsaken Me? This is a absolutely fantastic chapter to read. But if you read the next chapter, you're going to find out what the title of the next chapter is. The Lord is my shepherd. Let's look at what David says in Psalms chapter 22. A true Muslim with a strong iman will never leave Islam. You first have to prove that Islam is true. That is the first thing. Otherwise, you're just a person that believes in something. In Psalms chapter 22, let's read. My God, why have thou forsaken me? Why are you so far from me, from saving me? From the words of my groaning, O my God, I cry by day, but you do not answer, and by night, but I find no rest. Yet you are holy, enthroned on the praises of Israel. In you, your fathers trusted. In you, our fathers trusted. They trusted you and believed, and you believed them, and you delivered them. My bad. What's wrong? To you they cried and were rescued. In you they trusted and were not put to shame. But I am a worm and not a man, scorned by mankind and despised by people. All who see me mock me. They mock mouths at me. They wag their heads. He trusts in the Lord. Let him deliver him. Let him rescue him, for he delights in him. You are he who took me from the womb. You made me trust you and my mother's breast. On you was I cast from my birth, and from my mother's womb you have been my God. Be not far from me, for trouble is near, and there is none to help. What's coming? Many bulls encompass me, strong bulls of Bashan surround me. They open wide their mouths at me, like the ravening and roaring lion. Pay close attention now, right? Verse 13. Pay very close attention. This is where the contention is coming, and it's coming sharp, right? Let me read verse 13 again. They open wide their mouths. They open wide their mouths at me, like a raving and roaring lion. I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax. It is melted within my breasts. My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue stick to my jaws. You lay me in the dust of the dust of death. For the dogs encompass me. A company of evildoers encircle me. They have pierced my hands and feet. I can count all my bones. They stare and gloat over me. They divide my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. Now hold on. What is absolutely fantastic within the text is that there is a notion amongst the believers, which is the Jewish believers, and at the same time there's also now Muslims joining in, and these Muslims are saying things like Psalms 22 is not about Jesus. It seems that the Muslims is siding with the Jews, because the Jews is saying that Psalms 22 is not about Jesus. Psalms 22 is about someone coming in the future. But that's okay, because someone is coming in the future. What they happen to say is, this particular person is none other than Hezekiah, king that is in the lineage of David, and that has also governed and ruled. But who is Hezekiah? Hezekiah is a righteous king. He was a righteous king. Hezekiah have caused the Passover to take place in the quickest and possible way at the time of his rulership. Hezekiah feared God. This is what he did. But then something interesting happens to Hezekiah itself. If you want to read a little bit more of Hezekiah, go to Isaiah chapter 38 verse 13. There you see something interesting happens to Hezekiah himself. But back to 22. 22 holds a mystery for us that we have to understand what this mystery is about. The mystery is more revealed within verse 13. They open up their mouths at me like a raving and roaring lion. The inevitable question is here. Who is the lion? That is the question. Who is the lion? And we need to know and we need to understand who the lion is and what the lion does. That is important. But more about the lion, you find in 1 Kings chapter 38. In 1 Kings, I didn't open up 1 Kings. If you read 32. Let's start with the lion and try to figure out what on earth is the purpose of the lion. Now, the purpose of the lion, according to Psalms 22 in the commentary of Rashi, Rashi comes, and Rashi is a 12th century scholar, and then after Rashi there's multiple scholars that come after Rashi and also gave the interpretation of the text itself, particularly chapter 38. But then you find amongst the rabbis is that the rabbis is not consistent and congruent with their belief when it comes to chapter 38. Rashi just mentions one thing. Rashi doesn't say, in any shape or form does Rashi say, hey, chapter 22 verse 17 of the book of Psalms is about Hezekiah. He's not saying it is Hezekiah. If you want to read a little bit more, you can go to Sepharia and you can go to that particular text and look at the commentary of Rashi. The commentary of Rashi only say this in chapter 38 of the book of Isaiah. Hezekiah also mentions it. He doesn't say it is Hezekiah. You can go check it out. Let me see if I can open up something for you. In the commentary of Rashi, when Rashi talks about it, in the commentary of Rashi, when Rashi talks about it, Rashi is not saying under any circumstances, guys, it is Hezekiah. Rashi is making reference to Isaiah chapter 38 by 13 and saying it is mentioned here, or Hezekiah mentions. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 38. Let's go read Isaiah chapter 38 verse 13. Let's just read it. Let's go find. Did Rashi actually say it is Hezekiah himself? Let's pay close attention. Look at this. In Isaiah chapter 38, it goes, Hezekiah seeks Hezekiah's sickness. So this is Hezekiah is sick, right? In chapter 38, in chapter 38, you will find that Hezekiah becomes terminally ill, and God says He's going to take Hezekiah and He's going to lay Hezekiah to rest. No, dude, it's fine, no problems. You can come up, brother, no problem. He's going to lay him to rest, and Hezekiah becomes grieved in his heart because of what's about to happen. Hezekiah then deals with what is known as mortality. And the problem with mortality is you will no longer exist within the natural realm where we are, but you will then have to move to the spiritual realm, or what is known when God often said, you will rest with your forefathers. Meaning, you are going to die. Oh, what a blessed hope it would be for me if God tells me tomorrow, I'm going to lay you to rest with your forefathers, knowing and God is going to come take you away. But Hezekiah grieved upon that. So much so that God has sent the prophet Isaiah, the son of Amos, to him. And this is what is absolutely fantastic about the text. Absolutely fantastic. Yo, Grafton, let me see if he's available. He can just deny, or whatever the case may be. It's up to him. And he grieved about his death, right? It says in 38. We're doing a Bible study, so we're gonna read. It says in 38. In those days, Hezekiah became sick and was at the point of death. Right there. Please pay very close attention to what the text is saying. In those days, Hezekiah became sick and was at the point of death. In other words, he was dying. He was not about to die. He was not entering the process of death. He was dying. And Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amos, came to him and said to him, Thus saith the Lord, set your house in order, for you shall die. You shall not recover. Listen carefully. You shall not recover. Then Hezekiah turned his face towards the wall and prayed to the Lord and said, Please, O Lord, remember how I have walked before you in faithfulness and with a whole heart, and have done what is good in your sight. And Hezekiah wept bitterly. It goes on. Then the word of the Lord came to Isaiah. Pay close attention, guys. I don't know how many, but just watch this. Watch this. The word of the Lord came to Isaiah. It's going to come when we talk about First Kings, right? When we're going to deal with First Kings. And the word of the Lord came to Isaiah. Go and say to Hezekiah, Thus saith the Lord, the God of David your father, I have heard your prayer, I have seen your tears. Behold, I will add 15 years to your life. God is gracious, God is merciful, God is compassionate. And he heard the cry of Hezekiah. I will deliver you and this city out of the hand of the king of Assyria, and will defend the city. This is what he said. But what we have to know is what is in chapter 38. What is in chapter 38, verse 13. This is where the crux of the matter is. Remember, Hezekiah was sick. Remember, he was at the point of death. And Hezekiah in verse 13 comes. Let me read from verse 12, right? Let me read from verse 12. Verse 12 says, my dwelling is plucked. My dwelling is plucked up and removed from me, like the shepherd's tent. Like a weaver, I have rolled up my life. He cuts me off from the loom. From day to night, you bring me to an end. He's still talking about his death. To an end. I count myself until morning. Now, verse 13. Here we go. Like a lion, he breaks all my bones. Pay attention. Like a lion, he breaks all my bones. From day to night, you bring me to an end. Hezekiah is explaining death. Hezekiah is explaining death. But what is fascinating is that Hezekiah is mentioning, I calmed myself until morning. Like a lion, he breaks my bones. From day to night, you bring me to an end. Pay very close attention as to where Hezekiah is. Hezekiah is not dealing with the 15 years of extended life. Hezekiah is dealing with the pain and the torment before the blessing was given. The author of Isaiah writes the end in the beginning. He writes the end in the beginning. He's not starting with the difficulty that Hezekiah is going through. He's starting with the end result. He's saying that it is Isaiah that came to him and gave him the message. But why? Simply because from verse 10 words and down, he's talking about what has initially happened before Isaiah came with the answer or with the response. So he's talking about a lion. Do you see what is happening in Isaiah chapter 38? Isaiah is talking about a lion. If you go back to Psalms 22 and you go back to verse 13, you'll see they opened wide their mouths at me like a raving and roaring lion. This is what he is talking about. If you take the sure, no problem. So he's talking about who this lion is. But let's lay it down a little bit. Let's add a little bit more juice to everything, right? Let's add a little bit more juice. In Genesis chapter 49, verse 9 to 10, listen to what Genesis chapter 49, verse 9 to 10, he says, Judah is a lion's cub. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He stood down. He crouched as a lion, and as a lion who dares rouse him. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the rule of staff. Pay attention. It's explaining something. It's explaining something. I'm going to read it again. The rule of staff from between his feet until the tribute comes to him, and to him shall be the obedience of the people. Listen carefully. I'm going to read this again. Genesis chapter 49, verse 9 to 10 is explaining something. He says, Judah is a lion's cub. Number one, he's making a reference to the lion. Judah is a lion's cub. Number two, from the prey, my son, you have gone up from the prey. So like prey. So your lion chases his prey. All right. And then it says, he stooped down and crouched like a lion. And as the lioness, who dares rouse him? This is where it comes in. It gives you, verse 10 gives you the explanation of verse 9. Verse 10 gives you the explanation of verse 9. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the rulers of staff from between his feet, until tribute comes to him, and to him shall be the obedience of the people. Ladies and gentlemen, if you listen carefully to what I was saying, in Genesis chapter 49 verse 10 explains who this lion is. This lion symbolizes justice. The lion symbolizes justice. 49 verse 10. In Isaiah chapter 38, it is Hezekiah that is not talking about the lion that in Psalms 22, that it is he is the Messiah, or he is the guy, or all of that. No, that's not what it says. Because if you go to the law of first mention, where it is mentioned first, you will find out something very critical in verse 9 and in verse 10. Judah is the young lion. Judah is trained and developed. Judah understands the law, and the scepter will not depart from him. It will not go away. The rulers will be in there. And who is that? The rulers. The rule of the rulers is in order for the people to be obedient. In other words, this is judgment. The lion symbolizes judgment. The lion does not symbolize Hezekiah. Hezekiah faltered and made a mistake as a king, and the judgment of God. That's why Assyria was at his gate, knocking. Why? Because Hezekiah disobeyed God. The judgment is coming, and this judgment is a roaring lion. We're not done. We're not done. Let's go to the next one. In Hosea chapter 5 verse 14. Hosea chapter 5 verse 14. Listen to what it says. For I will be like a lion to who? To Ephraim. And like a young lion, where? In the house of Judah. Listen to this. Even I will tear and go away. I carry off, and no one shall rescue. Do you see what he's saying? What the judgment is done. He says, for I am the judgment in Ephraim, and the young lion in the house of Judah. That is what he says. Because this is the law. This is what it is. I dare to say, but I will be categorically wrong when I say it. But I dare to say, almost as if this is the Torah speaking. Almost as if this is the Torah speaking. Right? So Isaiah chapter 5 verse 14. Let's look at Amos chapter 3 verse 8. What Amos chapter 3 verse 8 is saying. The lion has roared. Who will not fear? The Lord God has spoken. Who can but prophesy? Symbolically, the lion here symbolically means the judgment. The judgment, which is the law. This is the law. There's nothing we can say. The law was against Hezekiah in 38 verse 13. It is God that has shown mercy to Hezekiah. The law is the one in Psalms chapter 22 verse 13. For they encompass me. This is the camp of evildoers. They pierced my hands. This is what they have done. Why does Psalms 22? Why do I say that Psalms 22 is like a lion here? Is because when Jesus was at the mercy seat, and he was being persecuted, and he was brought. It was the law that have accused Jesus. It was the law that was in front of him. It was the lawgivers. They've taken him to Annas, which is the high priest. They had the Pharisees and the Sadducees. They have all this. You have to envision. You have to now envision the judgment of Jesus. And what was against Jesus? The law. The law. The law was against Jesus. Yeah. Who did they put Jesus in front of? In front of all the lawmakers. Number one, Annas. Number two, he went to Caiaphas. He went to Caiaphas. He went to Pontius Pilate. He went to Herod. He was in front of all of these people, and he was confronted on multiple levels. He was confronted, and nothing at that moment. Look at what Pontius Pilate said. Pontius Pilate said, "Don't you then know that I have the ability, I have the power, I have this majesty, I have this capability of setting you free? I have this ability." He was in front of the law. It is Jesus that was facing. My bro, what is happening now? You understand? Because I'm standing in front of all of these lawgivers. And 22:13 says, 22:13 sums it all up by saying, they open up their mouths at me like a raving, roaring lion. The lion in the story is the law. Whose law? God's law. What did Jesus say? I did not come to abolish the law. I came to bring the law into fulfillment. I did not come to abolish it. I came to bring it into fulfillment. In other words, he's not making away with the law. He's not casting the law one side. The purpose of the law had to be fulfilled. Had to be fulfilled. He's not throwing the law one side. He's not casting the law out. He's not doing all of those things. He's saying, I'm basically just fulfilling what the law requires. Someone is going to die. Someone is going to perish. That's what it is. But let's go a little bit closer. Let's go a little bit closer. It's in 1 Kings chapter 13, 24. Let's go to 1 Kings chapter 13, 24. You're going to see something, what the Lord does here. 1 Kings 13, 24. I would love to read from, make it 22. Yeah. No. Do it right. 20. That's 20. Let's read 20, right? Let's just read from 20 to 24. Look what happens in the text. And as they sat at the table, the word of the Lord came to the prophet. The word of the Lord in Isaiah came to Isaiah concerning Hezekiah. Right? Concerning Hezekiah. It is the word of the Lord that came to the prophet. And here again in 1 Kings chapter 13, verse 20 to 24, he says, the word of the Lord came to the prophet who had brought him back. And he cried to the man of God who came from Judah. The man of God who came from Judah. Listen carefully what's happening over here. Thus saith the Lord, because you have disobeyed the word of the Lord. You hear it? The word of the Lord. And you have not kept the commandment, the law, that the Lord your God commanded you, the commandment, but have came back and have eaten bread and drunk water in the place of which he said to you, no, eat no bread and drink no water. Your body shall not come to the tomb of your fathers. He says, your body shall not come to the tomb of your fathers. Listen carefully. Your body shall not come to the tomb of your fathers. Watch what happens in verse 23 and 24. And after he had eaten bread and drunk, he saddled his donkey for the prophet whom he had brought back. And as he went away, what appears? A lion met him on the road and unalived him. This is wild. Watch this. And his body was thrown in the road, and the donkey stood beside it, and the lion also stood beside it. Right? The lion also stood beside the body. Let's read. Let's continue to read. Right? Now, there is a lion and there is a donkey. You have to weigh up what is happening in the text. Look at this. Verse 25. And behold, men passed by and saw the body thrown on the road, and the lion standing by the body. And the lion standing by the body. Listen to what they say. And they came to told it in the city where the old prophet lived. And when the prophet who had brought him back from the way heard of it, he said, it is the man of God who disobeyed the word of the Lord. Therefore the Lord has given him to the lion, which has torn him and unalived him, according to the word that the Lord had spoken. And he said this to his sons, settle the donkey for me. And they settled it. Meaning, watch closely what's happening in the text. Do you see under any circumstances that the lion is mutilating the body and eating the body? No. The Bible says that he stands next to the donkey. The donkey is there, the body is there. Which means that the man must not be devoured. The man's body simply just dies because of the lion. The lion does not consume him. The lion does not eat him. The lion's job is to unalive him. Why? Because he disobeyed the word of the Lord. That's why. In Psalms 22, when we go back to Psalms 22, Rashi makes the mistake, or I think this is the belief of most people, that say that Hezekiah is the lion being mentioned, or the person who is to be unalived. It is very clear. It is very, very clear that in chapter 18, verse 38, chapter 38, verse 13 of the book of Isaiah, you can go look at the commentary of Rashi. Rashi doesn't give a commentary on it. So now, what is Rashi doing with regards to the lion that is standing next to the road? Is he still saying that this is the prophet that is going to be great, that is going to be in similar fashion be a messianic figure? No, he dies by the hand of the by the lion. In Psalms chapter 22, Rashi is simply just making commentary on the verse. He cannot go anywhere further than that. He has no place to go. Why? Because if Rashi says it is Hezekiah, the general belief system in the Jewish worldview is that the Messiah will not be unalived. But this is contrary to what Daniel is saying in Daniel chapter 9. In Daniel chapter 9 is saying that the Messiah will be unalived. And now they say this is Hezekiah, the messianic figure. But Psalms 22 completely and utterly annihilates the ideology. Why? Because in the latter verses of 22, he says, they have stripped me off my clothes and gambled for it. Hezekiah was a king. Never has happened that to him. Was Hezekiah pierced? Under no circumstances was he pierced. Who is the lion? The lion is therefore symbolizing in the Bible as judgment. This is judgment that has come. Has judgment come to Jesus? Yes, judgment has come to Jesus. Why do I say that judgment has come to Jesus if Jesus is to judge the world? It's because Jesus is carrying the sin. He's the Messiah. He will take away the sins of the world. And because he has done that, he's subjected to justice. I see absolutely no way out for Psalms 22 to be about Hezekiah. Hezekiah is of royal descent. Hezekiah cannot be the symbol of Isaiah. It cannot be Isaiah chapter 9. It cannot be Isaiah chapter 35. It is impossible. He doesn't fit the spectrum. He doesn't fit the idea. He doesn't fit the plan. He doesn't fit all of these things. Was Hezekiah righteous? Yes. I cannot deny him. I cannot obviously deny him this. I cannot deny that he is in the lineage of King David. Yeah. But there was Hezekiah, the final king. Was it the last? Was it Hezekiah that was prophesied about by the prophets? Was it Hezekiah that was coming to plead an unlife for his people because his people still went into captivity? Was it Hezekiah? The odds is against Hezekiah. I don't think it's him. I'm not biased because I'm a Christian. I'm not biased because I am a Trinitarian believer, and I'm definitely not biased because my heart desires this to be true about Jesus. You have to forgive me, but I don't think that the narrative fits Hezekiah in the story. He inherits a kingdom, an earthly kingdom. Jesus inherits an eternal kingdom. On the day of judgment, they've persecuted him. On the day of judgment for Jesus, they've persecuted him. They've mocked him and scorned him. It is what Psalms 22 is saying. No one have mocked and scorned Hezekiah. They didn't turn against him. It doesn't add up. Unless you can prove me. Otherwise, Sean, and help me and definitely say, King, listen, you are biased. Based on your assertion and your assumption is that your greatest desire is it for Jesus it must be Jesus, and therefore you are biased and you're not looking at the text objectively by seeing that Brasio was actually corrected. This is Hezekiah. I can't make any sense of it. Not at all. Can only come to one conclusion. Hezekiah doesn't fulfill the prophecies. He doesn't. What say you?
Wagwan alaikum.
That's all
Can
I
you hear
have.
me?
I can hear you perfect.
Okay, alright. No. It's just a long Monday, mate. It's just a long Monday. It's a long
That's
one.
right.
Is this still on Psalm 22 of well, I got in the latter part of the conversation,
Yep.
or with regards to with the use of whether it is lion or whether it is pierced. Is that the contention?
Yeah, the piercing for me is I cannot help but to attribute this to the lion, and the lion itself, by the evidence that I've provided, says or guides me to the lion being not only a physical lion here, but this is the righteousness and the judgment of God, according to 1 Kings chapter 32 or 13:32. I can only see it in that light what the verses presents. That's all I got.
There is a book that I have here, but it's actually I got the reject copy of it because they bind it wrong. But it is the Inner Biblical Allusion in the Poetry and Wisdom and Psalms. It's edited by Mark Porter and Kevin Chow, and then also Beth Tanner, which is quite a great book to have. Sorry, I just want to hear what this lady wants. Klonky?
Clunky.
Okay. Typical 10-year-old. Yeah. So it is actually now if you take the word allusion, ALLUSION, it's actually looking into the deeper meaning without trying to put a narrative on anyone. So if you read Psalm 22, and the way I normally read the Psalms is, one, is this a psalm of orientation, which means is everything okay? Is everything good? Is this a psalm of disorientation, meaning that everything is haywire? And or this third part, is this a psalm of reorientation? Is it going from good to bad, or from bad to good? So when you read Psalm 22, which one of the three does that fall in? Is it the psalm where everything is good? Is it the psalm where everything is going haywire? Or is it the psalm that's going from bad to good?
It's definitely a UI.
Exactly. So it's a psalm of disorientation. So nothing in that psalm is actually talking about things that will be all good. It will be sunshine tomorrow. It's actually talking about, even if the image of, because Psalm 22 uses a lot of imagery. It's a lot of imagery that is used in Psalm 22. When we look at it, Psalm 22 speaks a lot, give a lot of animalistic thought to what animals will do to a prey, if you think about it. Even if we give credit to the Masoretic text that was long time written after the Septuagint in this regard, where it's actually copied from, where they use the term lion. Even if you use the term lion, it still defeats the argument of anyone that's saying that this is not about what Jesus spoke about, because the Psalms was basically read and thought of as messianic scripture. It was never just something that they sung as is. The argument would always be like, but yeah, the Psalms is written by David. Again, first and foremost, not all the Psalms are written by David. It's attributed to him. David was not in Psalms 137 when they sat by the rivers of Babylon. And it was long after David. So it's, again, when we read it, you need to understand, is this, what type of psalm are we reading? Psalm 88 to me is one of the most fascinating psalms, because Psalm 88 ends in so much darkness. It even says that darkness became my friend. I'm not sure if you've ever read Psalm 88.
I know. Might have been
the last part of Psalm. I've seen a couple of my songs that I have worked through songs, and when you get to Psalm 88, it actually speaks about this immense amount of darkness and suffering, and when you read Psalm 137, you understand also the lamentation of the person writing it. But when you read Psalm 22 again, let's go back to Psalm 22. When it says, my Lord, why have thou forsaken me? It means that it already starts in a bad place.
Yeah.
There's no build up to something bad. It already starts in a bad place.
Yep, that's right.
So which means it already starts in that darkness that I was alluded to Psalm 88 now. It's a place of agony. And then the agony is described throughout. So when the Jews heard Jesus uttered those words, they immediately realized, holy smoke.
What have we done? What have we done?
What have we done?
Yeah.
This is because the Psalms is not something that is up until today taken for
So
granted.
God, by definition, is eternal. He created time. He created
immense amount of meaning. It's got immense amount of theological understanding that goes into the Psalms. It's not just something that is sung, or said. I think of the request in Psalm 137, and we think Boney M made it famous by the rivers of Babylon, where we sat down and there we wept and we remember Zion. But that is a straight out lament, and in Psalms 22 there's lamentation. my God, why have thou forsaken
It's a
me?
lament. Yep. It's a lament.
So when we look, when you go down to Psalm 22, verse 16 and 17, where and you start reading that imagery of the animals devouring and piercing and hands and feet, even if you say like a lion at my hands and feet, look at how a lion is hunting.
Yeah. Exactly.
It gives so much imagery that you cannot but to look at the cross and say, my God,
Why?
why? Why? Because Psalm 22 is straight out lament. Yes, there's poetry, there's vision, there's imagery in it, but it's a straight out lamentation. It's hard. And when they heard Jesus utter these words, they could not but to. What have we done?
They realized what it was. They realized this is the nation of David. They understood the Psalms of David, their king, one of the greatest kings, and the city that has been named after him, a lineage that has been blessed by God, and that is the lineage of David. Prophecies about David and also his offspring, where God says that there will forever be a king on the throne of David. This is what he says. And so the lamentation of the Jews at the time is that they understood, even up until today, they are praying by the tomb of David. If you go on pilgrimage to Jerusalem, one of the stops is the tomb of David, and you'll find hundreds of Jews there. It's not empty. Hundreds of Jews is there lamenting, you understand, and reading Psalms and reading the Torah and the Tanakh and etc. And they understand who this king is. They understand who David is. They understand his work. They understand what he has done. They understand the readings. They cannot help but to say, even so much so, Sean, what happened at the cross, as per what the Bible is saying, is that a Roman soldier, uttered words by saying, truly, this is the Son of God. This is the Son of God. And this is a Roman soldier that makes this statement, and it is found in the Bible. And it's brilliant, because I believe if the Roman soldiers, to the certain extent, which was paganistic, and believed what they wanted to believe, and he could utter that and understand who this man was, I think the influence of modern day Jerusalem and the understanding of where they were has definitely positively influenced this Roman himself. After he pierced his side. Yep, that's right. It says here. That's right. That's absolutely right. So let me just read for you what Rashi says on Psalms 22. Rashi, for some reason, which is the greatest for many, specifically on
the guy that called me lower than dung.
than lower than poop. He's associating you.
At least I'm useful. At least I'm useful. I can be used for fertilizer.
Yeah, but you also seen as an Edomite in his eyes. So yeah, please. Like a lion, my hands and feet, as though they are crushed in a lion's mouth. And so did Hezekiah say. Like a lion, so it would break all my bones. So Rashi is not saying Hezekiah is the Messiah. He's not saying it. Right? He's not saying it. My God. Let me not be onbaskof and not show the people what I'm saying, because never say like lieg. Die mense, die Christene, verstaan vir hulle.
Kyk mense
as hulle.
Halleluja.
Hulle maak het vir jou moeilik op jou. Psalms 22 verse 17. Safaria, you can go there. Psalms 22, 17. You can go to the reading, and then in the commentary section, you'll see Rashi. There's Rashi's commentary section. Right? There it is. And that's what Rashi is saying. As though they are crushed in the lion's mouth, and so did Hezekiah say in 38:13 of the book of Isaiah, like a lion, so it would break all my bones. Rashi is not saying Hezekiah is the Messiah.
He's the Messiah. No, he does not.
He doesn't say it. He doesn't say it at all. So what position do we find ourselves, Chelsea? God bless you, man. Bless you so much. So what position did Rashi see this text? He couldn't have seen it from the point of Hezekiah. He could only have seen it from a different angle. Here's my question, Sean. Did Rashi deny the death of the Messiah? Did he deny
Of course, and also Rashi is quoting Hezekiah. He's quoting Hezekiah in the book of Isaiah, which is then Proto-Isaiah, which speaks of, and that is just before the servant songs.
Mhm.
It's one chapter before the servant songs, because the servant song starts in chapter 40.
If
So it's
if-
a very strategic placing.
Yep. If Rashi denies, the death of the Messiah, Rashi surely denies Daniel chapter 9.
What does he say? What is his commentary on chapter 9?
No, in Daniel chapter 9, the Messiah dies. Daniel
Just hold for me. I'm listening.
Daniel prophesies about the death of the Messiah in Daniel chapter 9. If Rashi denies the death of the Messiah, he's also now denying Daniel chapter 9. So he cannot say that the Messiah is not dying. He's saying that the Messiah will die, but he is not explicitly saying that Psalms 22 in relation to Isaiah chapter 38 verse 13 is about Hezekiah. It's not what he's saying. He's admitting that it's not Hezekiah. It is the Messiah. Guys, you can go check it out. You can absolutely go check it out, right? You can go check it out, what the commentary says. Let me read you another commentary of one of the rabbis, Radok. Do you see Radok here? Do you see him? This guy here? He's in the 13th century. The commentary focuses on the single meaning of the text, the incorporating grammar and philosophy. Look what he's saying here. For they have surrounded me. Look what he says on this. They are enemies, and I am in the midst of them like one who is surrounded by. Let me see. He goes a little bit further. Surrounded by, and then he talks about, let me take this away here, make it a little bit bigger. And he's talking about dogs, right? For the escape, for the dogs surrounded me by, surround me is to be explained after the fugitive manner of the metaphorical interpretation. And then he's talking about the Jews. Look here, he's talking about the Mohammedans, right? He's talking about the Mohammedans. Radok is talking about the Mohammedans in the sense that the enslavement of Jews in the Mohammedans, we should fall into the power of the uncircumcised, and so we fold our hands and our feet and stand fearful in terror and stricken before them, for we have no power either to escape on foot or to flight from our hands. Behold, it is just as if our hands and feet were fettered. It's almost like he's saying it was already in chains. So there is not a consistent argument from the rabbis that agrees with one another to say
No.
this is about Hezekiah. There's nothing consistent about it. Yeah. I hope, guys, you've enjoyed it. It is an hour. If I can just get something in the chat of acknowledgement, maybe. If you enjoyed it, lie if you must. Lie if you must, but say no if it's no, say yes if it's yes. Because this type of content is absolutely interesting, very, very interesting from historical perspectives. The chat is still, they left. The chat left.
And that's why I always say that the Bible cannot just be read in one verse. It cannot just be read in isolation. You need to take it to, for example, if you read Psalm 22 and you read it, and you read it just because you read it, you don't put any theological understanding to what you are reading. You can read that this cannot be something that's light and easy. This is something heavy.
Yeah.
It's burdensome. But at the same time, now you read, for example, Psalm 23, and then you see this beautiful light of the Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. And you continue reading it, and it's now this beautiful orientation of how good life is, because God will protect me and all of that. But then at the same time, if you just read one back, you understand that, again, it's not just one thing. There are many layers to understanding it. And you don't need to be a theologian or a scholar or someone that went to a Bible school to actually really understand the Bible and reading. And to start off with is to read and to understand. And like you said now, none of the rabbis can come to a concise conclusion at the end of the day of Psalms 22.
Psalms 22. Yeah. I think
And
dude has a question.
Yeah.
Is you watch up the question. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. We can read. Let's. He says, the textual question you're asking hinges on a critical manuscript difference. The Hebrew text is difficult reading, literally like a lion. My hands and my feet. That's right. For pierced my hands and my feet. This creates an interpretive puzzle. The phrase makes little sense contextually. Right, let's deal with the. I'm gonna read it and then we're gonna deal with it part per part. Right. However, the manuscript evidence strongly supports the pierced reading. A manuscript fragment at Nathal Haver in the region of the Dead Sea.
The Sea Scrolls.
A millennium older than the Masoretic text. Ended in the longer verb pierced, not yod, like a lion. Okay, a mere millimeter of ink making all the difference in the world. Second, the difference between Hebrew and Kairu, pierced, and Ka'ari, like a lion. In Achan is akin to the difference between a jod and a tittle. Well, that's a good point. That's a very good point. That is bringing up. So the fragmentation of the verses in relation to the text, I would go to the earliest sources that is really early, and he's mentioned it here, and that would be the Dead Sea Scrolls, that is giving us a more clear and concise type of script. If the Dead Sea Scrolls go, for example, it says pierce, then pierce is much more closer to what the New Testament it says that they have pierced his side, for example. So this is absolutely fascinating. The textual question is asking the textual question you're asking hinges on a critical manuscript difference. Yeah, there is manuscript differences. Let me bring this also very close as to why there is manuscript differences in terms of the text. I hold to the position that as of the crucifixion of Jesus, the manuscript tradition of the Bible, and I'm talking about Old Testament and New Testament, was extremely in danger. It was in danger. And the reason why I say it was of that particular nature is because remember when the Christians, when Jesus died, and after Jesus died, the church itself was being persecuted for 3 decades. It was for 300 years the church was persecuted. The death of the Christians, according to Nero, we can see signs of Nero, when Nero have burned Christians to light up his gardens. He was a bit of a firefly. If you read Nero itself, the unaliving of the spreading of the gospel of the apostles themselves, and many Christians, which leads me to believe that because of the severe pressure of the church itself, manuscripts have had a textual variance. There was textual differences within because they had to write these texts under severe pressure. If anyone says anything of whatsoever nature and say that in the house of Peter is Christians, it will be investigated and they will be eradicated if that is the case. Now pay very close attention. I'm not comparing it to the Holocaust, but I want to use the Holocaust as an example. Is the fact that in the time in Germany, in Nazi Germany, is that even if you so much have inscriptions of the Jewish text, or spoke Hebrew, or whatever the case may be, and you're not a German by birth, you would have been persecuted. Same is, in this case, is that many of the Jews, according to Josephus Flavius, in the Antiquities of the Jews, Josephus specifically say that Jesus had a multitude of followers from both Jews and Gentile. He had multitudes of these people. What does it mean? It means simple, that the threat of Christianity was so severe that the Jews was losing. They were losing authority. They were losing popularity. They were losing all of this because why? There is something new coming in, and this newness is taking the world of Israel or Judah by storm, based on what Jesus said. Have Jesus not given the keys to the kingdom to someone else? Have Jesus not given or taken the keys of the kingdom from the Jews and given it to Peter? And take those keys and give it to someone else? The authority of the kingdom of Israel has been taken and given to who? To the church. Now we're not abolishing Israel or Judaism. It just says that the kingdom is in the hands of someone else. That's what it says. Oh, you were saying? Let me get some water.
No. Just look at it from you know the story of Jesus talking to the woman at the well, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever looked into that from an historical standpoint? Because, Jesus goes outright and talk to this woman and say, listen up, the man you're with now is not even yours, and the others that you were with is not even yours either. That woman, yes, she heard it, but she was not the one to blame. Because look at the area where he spoke. It was in the northern territory. We need to look now. It's Samaria, and then we had Judah in the south.
Yeah.
Samaria in the north, Judah in the south.
Yehuda. Yeah.
And now Jesus is speaking to her as if she's the whole region. And if you go and count how many Jesus mentions, that Jesus say that these foreign nations that you are with now, you're treating them as the imagery that Jesus is using with her. And in that understanding, once again, of how like you mentioned now, the kingdom given over to the church and no longer in that hold that it is assumed to be, you know. What was her take on it? She went into the area and she went to go and spread the gospel.
Yeah.
She went to go and speak about this man.
Who this man is.
But isn't that taboo? Because
She's a woman.
she's a woman. Number two, Samaritan, the people from Samaria and the Jews didn't speak to each other. She even made it clear to Jesus,
She
who
made it
are you
clear
to
to
ask me
him.
for water?
Yeah. You don't even have something to drink, you know, and you're speaking to me.
You speak to me. You're not allowed to speak to me.
Yeah. For
But
you
then-
are a Jew.
She made it very clear. But then he says to her, I'm just asking you for water, but if I give you the water that I'm willing to give you is water that's everlasting, water that you will never thirst of again. Because once again, she was not invited to speak to the other woman that came in the early morning. She came at the heat of the sun.
In the heat of the day.
She was scorned.
Yeah.
She was tucked away. She was not seen to be. She came alone. And here this bride is waiting for her, sitting lekker there. And then he still tells her, listen up. The man that you are with is not yours. And neither were the others. And she understood immediately what he said.
That's right.
That's why she ran into it.
Yeah. And notice, you were talking about her being exiled, not excommunicated from the community as a woman.
Yes.
And noticed what she said. She went into the community and she spoke about this man. And this is what she said. He told me everything about myself.
About himself.
About myself. All right, everything. And immediately, because she started to advocate for this man who told her everything about herself, the community forgave her. The community came to the well to meet who this man is. Sean, this woman continued to prophesy and minister in the community. And then to the point where they said, it's not that we don't believe you. It's not that we don't believe you. In other words, because of this broken down woman, they all came to believe.
And guess what? Judah excommunicated Samaria.
Yeah.
Judah excommunicated Samaria.
So what do we do now?
It's
What do we do
it's
now?
it's so amazing that wherever there were excommunication, Jesus brought them into reconciliation.
That's right. Yes.
Everyone that was excommunicated, he brought them back to reconciliation.
Let's look at Zacchaeus. Kom ons gaan na Zacchaeus toe. Kleine man. En 'n kleine man was hy. Right?
Kleine moeilikheid mannetjie.
That man was in the fig tree. Now I'm not making any resemblance to the fig tree of the Garden of Eden. I'm not saying that, not at all. Right? That man was in the fig tree. But when Jesus came and said, Zacchaeus, I'm coming to your house, what was the outcome? What was the outcome? What was the outcome?
He's sitting there with a brother that's stealing from us, etc., etc., etc.
Look what Zacchaeus said. Zacchaeus said, Lord, if I have taken from anyone unlawfully, I will give it back to them 4 times. Zacchaeus was excommunicated. And because Jesus came into the city, Jesus restored the economy of that place by letting Zacchaeus do what is right. He restored it.
Die man van Gadara in Marcus 5, in Marcus 5,
Man
in
van
Mark
Gadara.
5.
In the Decapolis. Excommunicated. He's outside.
Excommunicated. Outside.
Where does he sleep? Amongst the dead. He sleep amongst the dead. He tormented people where a people is mourning, where they come to mourn. They come in to bury their loved ones. This is where they...
He terrorized them.
He terrorized them.
Hy was 'n lewendige spook.
Yes.
He was bound in chains.
Correct. He was outside. But then again, the communication that both he and Jesus had was when he said, "Are you here now? Are you here now? To torment us? Are you here now to do that?" Right? and when what has kept this man bound left the man.
The legion
Left him. But what did the people in the Decapolis say? Is this not the man?
Yeah.
This guy is not normal. You know, he's not normal. Is this the guy? Is this him? Die malaatse. Moenie praat oor die malaatse.
And then the most amazing part is through all of that, he that restored them from excommunication, he was excommunicated.
He was excommunicated. He was kicked out. In order for righteousness to take place. He was rejected. Rejected and alone, Michael W. Smith. You see, he was trampled upon. He was left alone. Do you know what is fascinating about this conversation is bringing up the book of John, where the disciples have left Jesus. They've left him alone. You know, they disappeared when he was arrested. In order for the word to come into fulfillment, to say that he will be left alone, everyone will abandon him. And Jesus, even to the point, said, "But I'm not alone. Just understand one thing, I'm not alone. For the Father is with me." You know, but only for the word to come into fulfillment.
Now that you mentioned John and you mentioned the word and fulfillment, this might sound like a hele nuwe evangelie, nee, but I just had this thought now. If, and this is a big if, and I am willing to take the stones that's coming at me with this if. So let's replace the word Jesus with the word.
Oh. And the word
hold on.
said.
Hold on. And the word came to the woman at the well. And the word spoke to the man in the cemetery. And the word of the Lord spoke to Zacchaeus of capital letters. And the word of the Lord raised the girl from her unaliving. And the word of the Lord opened the eyes of the blind. And the word of the Lord was put to a cross. And the word of the Lord was put into a tomb. And the word of the Lord rose, because the word of the Lord is everlasting, and the word of the Lord can never be unalived.
Can never return void unto him.
Turns void. And that is the whole evangelia. That is the hele gospel.
That's the word.
Dat die woord het fisies vlees kom word. So when we look about the very same word that God uttered through the prophets, the very same word that spoke to the disobedience of a nation throughout time, and that nation is just an example of what disobedience is. And God spoke to them in words that they understood, in imagery that they understood, that might seem taboo to the modern brain to say, but no, God cannot use those imagery. That imagery was imagery that they were used to. They fornicated with other nations.
Yeah.
As a nation. They literally went about from one nation to another because they didn't rely on God
They didn't.
at all.
They didn't.
They
They
did
became-
not.
they
The
became
moment, and
disobedient.
that's why the Psalms is so beautiful.
Yeah.
The Psalms is so beautiful when we read it, to go back to the Psalms to say that, oh, we have this orientation where everything is good, and then we have Psalm 137, by the rivers of Babylon, where we sit down and there we weep and remember Zion. How can I sing the praises of the Lord in a foreign land? And then you still ask God to take the heads of the young ones and smash it to a stone, because that's how I feel. Because I have disobeyed God, and I want God to come into this arena now to take care of my enemy. But my enemy is the very one that I went to because I didn't trust in God. But then God is at the same time still faithful and say, but okay, I will redeem you. I will take you home. I will take you to where you want to be. And then where you are, the only thing that matters to you is restoring your own life. And that's what Haggai is talking about. And I wrote a paper on Haggai and the image of a homeless God, where they forgot about God in an instant. Here, hoekom is die mens so? Sodra dit goed gaan, vergeet ons van die Here se goedentierendheid. Maar sodra dinge se highway gaan, dan wil ons vinnig huil. En ek praat van myself. I'm putting myself into this as well. Because ek is ook mens. We sometimes forget. But then if the word of God start to speak to you in a way that you cannot deny, the only thing to do is to run into the village and start preaching the word. Start mentioning the word. The word is not something that you utter outside of the word itself, because the word is truth. So therefore the word speaks for itself.
Yeah.
En daar is die mooiheid van die evangelie, en baie min mense verstaan dit in konteks.
Let's
Vir alles het die psalms lees.
Let's bring it a little bit closer. Jeremiah chapter 30. And Jeremiah is using the word Yahweh here. And it says, for this says the word, your hurt is incurable, and your wound is grievous. There is none to uphold your cause, no medicine for your wound, no healing for you. All your lovers have forgotten you. Sounds familiar? All your lovers have forgotten you. They care nothing for you, for I have dealt you the blow of an enemy, the punishment of a merciless foe, because your guilt is great, because your sins are flagrant. Why do you cry out over your hurt? Your pain is incurable, because your guilt is great, because your sins is flagrant. I have done these things to you. Therefore, all who devour you shall be devoured, and all your foes, every one of you, shall go into captivity. Everyone shall go into captivity. Those who plunder you shall be plundered, and all who prey on you I will make a prey. For I will restore health to you. Who will restore health? The word will restore health.
The word
will restore health to you. And your wounds, the word will heal. I will heal. Declares who? The word.
The word.
Because they have called you an outcast. It is Zion, for whom no one cries. Oh, sorry, no one cares. So who's saying
no one cares?
It is the word that will do it. That is
Yeah.
it. And if we take Jesus and replace Jesus and say He's the word, then who is right through the Bible doing it? The word.
And the amazing part is that what is the meaning of, what is the Hebrew name for Jesus out of the transliteration?
In terms of the terms of the Targums,
Yeah, the Hebrew name.
it's the word, it's the Memra.
Yeah. But if we take the word Jesus, what is the literal transliteration of that word Jesus?
Yotevave.
If we work it back.
We word it back.
If we work it
way
back.
back to the beginning.
We work it back to what he would have called in his native tongue. How would have called him? Yeshua.
Yes. I was thinking
Yes.
about
No,
Yotevave. Mm.
No, if you have the word Yeshua, it literally means God saves. God is my salvation.
Yeah.
So now, and the salvation of God came unto the woman at the well. That's why I said it's a big if.
It doesn't. It
You
doesn't.
see,
It doesn't
it's,
matter. It doesn't
it
matter.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
How
And the,
bad.
and again, that image, the image of the cross is the image of what Israel has done to the word of God throughout time. They have always persecuted God's word for self-gain
Yeah.
in disobedience throughout time. I was thinking about what one of the Muslim brethren said the other night. I'm not sure who it was. When he uttered the following words, he said, there was a prophet sent for every nation.
Yes. Interesting.
It begs the question, and I had to go and look into my papers when I reception of prophecy in Africa, especially to Deuteronomy 18:10. We're back in Deuteronomy. And how interpretation of prophecy, especially in South Africa or in Africa, how it's dealt with, because we cannot look at the Bible without acknowledging Africa.
Nope.
There's
Impossible.
no way.
Impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Oh, in Samaria, they're all okay. Fisher, I will run through that now for you. So if we look at archaeology, we look at time, we look at the space, and we look at the reception of prophecy within the context of Africa, we must acknowledge that Africa had an idea of who God is.
In relation to the cradle of mankind.
No, in general, from top to bottom, because people were nomads. You had to have, and remember, the Ethiopian in the book of Acts.
Yes, the eunuch. Yeah.
Yes. So think about it. Ethiopia is close to I think it's Tanzania. Ethiopia is close. Tanzania is close to Kenya.
Yeah.
So people migrated. People moved.
Up, down. Yeah. The Bantu
right.
migrated down. Yeah, downwards.
Yes, Ngunis. Yeah. So when we draw a line, we can see there is, if you go through Sudan up until the pyramids of Giza and you draw a straight line down, you end up roundabout in Mpumalanga. But that straight line down that you are drawing down from that point down, there are remnants of history that comes down in that line. So, and this is reception of prophecy on the African continent. How did we as a people understand God prior to our understanding of who God is?
I'm gonna share with you a little bit of a historical fact. When the settlers came to the Western Cape, Western Cape, they had the notion that they were coming to meet the indigenous people of the Western Cape and coming to teach them about God or Christianity. And what was surprising to them is the fact that the indigenous people was already telling them about a divine being. Already telling them
Whether
about
it was Mudimo.
They were already telling them about, and they would point to the sky and say, the big God lives in the east, and the small one lives in the east. The West and the East. They would make
The
that.
West and the East.
Yeah, they would make that comparison between the two.
Yeah.
And that guy, that Jewish guy, Dining with Death. I think he had that show, Dining with Death, or I'm not sure if it was Dining with Death. And he used to eat food all over the world, all kinds of food, all kinds. Whether it was whatever the case may be, you would eat it because it would have been a delicacy in that particular world. And he came down to the Koyan son. Listen to this. He came down to the Koyan son, and he was spending time with them. And then the chief, before they ate food, he would take a live coal out of the fire and swallow it. Right? And he would swallow it, and then they would eat. And he did it for the first time ever. He did it. They gave him a live coal and he said, all you need to do is just to swallow the coal. And then we're going to eat. He said, when he took the coal and he ate the coal, something divine happened within his being. He started to cry. He didn't cry because his tongue was burning or whatever the case may be. He started to cry. He says all of a sudden every burden, everything on his shoulders started to lift, and his life became, it just became a little bit better. And then when I heard what he was saying, I was thinking, but similar to this is what is in the Bible. Did God not take a coal and put it?
The imagery is it now Ezekiel?
Did he not take the coal and put it on his mouth?
Yeah, the imagery. It was the imagery of Ezekiel, the vision he had. Yeah.
And the worst of mankind said he cast the black stone. You understand? And his life became better. He said his life became better, and they started to eat. He said he was crying like a baby. He was crying like a baby.
But now, here's the big question. Where did that knowledge production come from? Because if the Koyan son did not have the physical Bible in front of them as we know it today.
Yep.
Where did that knowledge production come from? And that is what I now, in postgrad, is investigating, is the knowledge production of the culture and the identity of God in Africa. Because you cannot have any religious context. There will be no Judaism, there will be no Islam, there will be no Christianity if it is not for the continent of Africa.
Nothing of what
plays a significant role in the identity and how religion is shaped in this modern day and context.
Yep.
That's a side of our religious disbeliefs or rhetoric that we have or however. It's all apart from that. Mm-hmm. Because what I'm looking at and what I'm investigating is the identity of a people, not just a culture, a clan or a cult, but a people in their belief in a divine essence.
There's something divine. Yeah.
There's something above the norm. There's something above what would be to us now seen as taboo. And I'm not, and please, brothers and sisters who's listening to this, I'm not saying that it's a spirituality thing that I'm trying to create a new religion. I'm looking at how the ancients identified to God outside of the belief system that we have today. For the example that King mentioned now, how did they know of that? So therefore I say the stories of the Bible had to travel throughout the continent from time and space and place. Whether it was written down,
I'm going to add,
or whether it was orally transmitted, there was a way of identifying who God is.
I'm going to add the very simple looking at nature. Looking at nature itself, it is common within our understanding to govern and to rule. And by doing that, in yourself you also recognize and realize in yourself that if you are a governor and if you are to rule, there must be a ruler, there must be a governor, there must be someone greater out there. The first thing about the animal kingdom is that the animal kingdom fights to survive, though there is the lowest form, right? But there is a survival of the fittest, and there is a survival to survive. But at the same time, there's also those that keeps a very delicate balance in nature. If you're just a human being and look at how nature treats itself, you will find that nature does not over-exhaust itself. There's no governor, there's no ruler. It is just by pure, simple instinct that they make sure that they survive. It's the verse in the Bible that says, look at the birds of the, look at the flower, look at the birds of the sky, and look at the lilies of the valleys. Who? You see, and he asked, who feeds them? You know, how is it? Jesus makes reference to the scribe that was coming to him, and he said, Master, I want to follow you. And Jesus looked at him and he said, foxes have holes and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. Jesus is making reference to an animal kingdom by saying foxes have holes and birds have nests, but the Son of Man have nowhere to.
Psalm 22. Psalm 22.
You understand? And Jesus quotes that to him and is saying, and I think that man have understood or come to the realization, but wait, hold on. Here's a delicate balance that is here, and there's a supreme being. The rich young man that came to Jesus and said, how can I acquire this eternal life? And what did Jesus says? The delicate balance. Go sell everything, and then you follow me. You get what I'm saying? It's just absolutely fantastic how this works.
No, it's amazing when we look at it, and that's why I'm saying it's for me a thorough investigation into the understanding of, and it goes beyond the culture. It just goes on to the form of belief and what that belief is, and is there a common thread to my modern day belief and my modern day understanding. And what, like you say now, settlers came to the Cape wanting to bring a God that they understood in their way. There was a form of understanding of who God is. It might not be in the understanding that we know God today.
Yeah.
But if we really dive deep in the understanding, for example, if we look at the hunter-gatherers, the Khoi and the Sand people, and I don't like the terminology as much, if we look at the hunter-gatherers, the Ku, the Ngu, we look at the Namara, the Damara, the Hezeka, the Namakwa, we look at all those clans, we have one question that we need to ask. Who taught them to hunt in that particular way? Who taught them to only use X amount of poison on the tip of a dart to run off the eland, to make sure that when that eland falls, it falls because it's tired, and then it is then unalived. But when they unalive it, it thanks the eland for its giving from itself, but it also thanks the creator of the eland. Now, if we were so nomadic and so barbaric, how do we know there is a creator for the eland? Couldn't we just assume? So, and who taught the barbarians, or as we were called, these nomads, these no good life people, how to pray, how to give thanks?
Who did
So
it?
there has to be, because again, if the Khoi and I have to lack of word.
You have to say it.
If the nomadic tribes, there we go. Because I really hate that word. You don't have an